starting to rain, Nat.
Yes.
And we're driving. And today's a special day. What's the special day today?
Anniversary.
That's right. It's our anniversary of the first day we met. How many years ago?
8 years.
8 years, that's right. And so we're going to go eat someplace special. And we're taking the YouTube viewers along with us.
Yes.
To celebrate and show them how much it costs and what's on the menu at I call this like a high-end restaurant for where we are out in the middle of nowhere. It's a really nice restaurant and different kind of food on the menu. So we're going to take them along with us, and we're going to talk about something that's been in the news just recently that's got me shocked. And I'm going to offer my opinion of what it means and what I suggest that if I were in other people's positions not living in Thailand, what I would do. So anyway, come along with us and come get some food at some cool place and celebrate 8 years with the Natsta.
Yeah.
So here we are, Natsta, and there's an extensive menu that includes lots of drinks and desserts. But also some great meals of things you wouldn't normally get in a typical low-end Thai restaurant. But some of it, it's not real expensive for what you're getting. It's sort of gourmet at a cheaper price. So really good option for celebrating something like our anniversary. But they have steak for 200 baht, which is about $6. Grilled chicken steak, pork steak, 220, salmon steak for 195. And you can see the presentation. It's like eating in a high-end hotel restaurant or something like that. Anyway, what we've gotten before is like an egg on top of what was it, rice with like a tom yum flavor with seafood and stuff. But anyway, we're gonna go ahead and eat, have dessert, and then back at you in a minute. How was the meal?
Very good.
Very good. So we've got what we ended up getting is what we always get when we come here, but you got a different variation of it, and that is they make like a omelet over rice and then put it with a flavoring that you're accustomed to in Thai. Like if you know what tom yum goong is, it's a spicy shrimp soup. That was what was around the rice and the omelet. And that got one that was basil and seafood, and the same thing, omelet on the rice with the basil seafood wrap. Tasty stuff. Then for dessert, we got the panna cotta. There you go. See, she's got the accent down too. And a bottle of water. And it's going to come to, we haven't got the check yet, but it's going to come to about 389 baht, something like that.
We have the onion ring too.
Oh yeah, the onion rings. I forgot about the onion ring. So this restaurant, in the air conditioning and everything, with a great view and everything, can't beat that. Good. And it's a good place to celebrate. And we're out in the middle of nowhere, really. And this place is like this resort. And so we get this high-end food in a place that we can live cheaply and away from cities. So still get the sort of like the best of all worlds here. So anyway, I have something in the news I wanted to talk to you about, and so hang in there.
We back.
That's right, we're back, and we were going to talk about what I wanted to talk about at the restaurant, but they had music coming through speakers all over the property with songs that if I recorded and that was in the background, I would have got flagged by YouTube as copyright violation or something. So we waited till we got home. It was a good meal.
Yes.
And the whole thing came to like $12.50 with a bottle of water and everything. So as bad as what I'm going to talk about, because I'm going to talk about inflation numbers that's happening or worldwide, you can still live in Thailand, and that was like what I would consider a high-end restaurant. And for $12.50, two people can eat a really nice meal and dessert and stuff. And so even though what I'm going to talk about also applies to Thailand, it's still affordable here. And, you know, when something goes up for 5 baht or 10 baht, percentage-wise, it's going to be a lot of money, you know, when inflation hits here. And it's a detriment and a downside for people in Thailand to get minimum wage here, right? It costs a lot more. Eggs and everything here is becoming more expensive. But for foreigners that are living here that are on fixed income, the exchange rate affects us more than the inflation, because something goes up 5 baht, that's like 15 cents US or something. It's not a big deal. And so this is something to keep in mind as I talk about all this. But this is a worldwide event happening now. And, you know, a lot of people disagree why it's happening. You know, some people say, oh, well, it's a war and all this stuff. But there's a perfect storm that's brewing, and this is just part of that perfect storm. And what I suggest is stand back and look at all the events that seem not related to each other, worldwide events, in every facet of societies, and look and see if they're all moving towards one common goal. And so anyway, I wanted to talk about this because this was shocking to me when I started to read this for our weekly update. Because I was talking about some things about inflation in Thailand and stuff, and debt to GDP ratios and stuff like that. But anyway, I stumbled across all this, and it was just shocking to me. An economist has warned that the USA is on the verge of a cost of living crisis due to rapid inflation. Food prices increased by 9.4% on average in the year to April, their largest 12-month rise in 40 years. That's crazy, right? In an article, said inflation in the USA hits 9.1%. Surging costs in fuel, housing, and food were major contributors to high inflation last month, reaching the highest level since November 1981. I mean, this is nuts. Food prices soared by 10.4%. Energy index advanced by 41.5%. Nearly every food item in the U.S. except uncooked beefsteak was more expensive last month. Pork, 9% up. Chicken, 18% up. Ham, 9.6% up. Eggs went up by 33%, the cost. Good thing we have chickens here, right? Yeah. They might want more for laying their eggs now, right? They might say, hey, well, come on, man. Cough up more food or something, you know?
Yeah, I think the price the food for chicken high too.
Yeah, that's right. She's exactly right. We're starting to pay more for the food for the chickens here, which is why the eggs costs go up here as well. But this is in America. Fruits and vegetables, 8.1%, and coffee, 16% increase in price. On energy, fuel oil increased by 98.5%. Gasoline, 60%, and electricity costs picked up by 13%. I mean, this is just nuts. And shelter costs, housing, which make up about 1/30 of the consumer price index, increased by 0.6%. And this was mainly driven by a 0.8% rise in rent of primary residencies, the greatest rent increase since 1986. We have one of our members who lives in Portland. He says a studio apartment in Portland, Oregon now is over $1,000 a month. That's a studio. That's not a bedroom. That's one room. I don't see how people are doing this. I really don't. This is crazy to me. And like I said, it's a worldwide event. In Australia, the CPI, Consumer Price Index for 2020, 21, and 22, shows, if you compare those, how much prices rose. The study found that between March 21 and March 22, the average inflation on prices for all items increased by 8.5%. And if you compare that to last year was only 2.6%. So that's a significant rise in prices. And that's in Australia. UK, same thing, 12-month growth rate reaching 7.9%. Housing costs in May, 9.1%. I mean, Vietnam, same thing. Annual inflation rate increased to a 2-year high of 3.3%. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. Thailand, let's talk about Thailand for a second. 2022 headline CPI is projected to rise between 4 and 5% compared with 1.2% last year. Core consumer prices rose 2.5% year on year in June. And I actually had mentioned in one of my weekly updates that the consumer debt to GDP, the GDP of the country, was going to reach 95%, I think it was. I mean, that's just unbelievable. And so, like I say, this is a worldwide event. And you'll see why I'm mentioning this in just a minute. But it says Thailand plans a budget deficit of 700 billion baht, which is $23 billion for the 22 fiscal year, up 12.4% from last year. The national debt of Thailand amounted to approximately 49.75% of GDP, and that's the national debt. Household debt forecast to jump to 95% of GDP this year. The average household debt in Thailand has increased to its highest in 14 years. And a recently conducted survey of 1,260 union workers who have good jobs, but they still earn less than 15,000 baht a month, so that's like $500 a month, found that 99% of them are indebted. Almost 100% of them have debt. They owe money. And according to the survey, most of their incomes are insufficient to pay their debt, and 31% have defaulted already on debts. So the reason I'm mentioning all that is, again, this perfect storm happening. And I mentioned this in our member site weekly update 4 or 5 months ago. We don't know what's on the horizon. The debt is increasing. You see what's happening in Sri Lanka. The fiscal deficit combined with the debt to GDP became so high that the people of the country weren't getting any products or services, and they just basically took over the government, ran the president and the prime minister out of the country. And I don't know how that's going to resolve itself, but there was actually a news report that showed what other countries matched those exact criteria of high fiscal deficit and debt to GDP. Countries, Thailand fits into that as well, but there's a lot of developing countries that are going to end up in the same situation, getting really close. So you take that combined with all these other events happening in the world, no fertilizers and mandatory inoculations of experimental drugs and all stuff. It's all moving towards one common goal. So the point of this was, and what I mentioned to the members is, if things deteriorate, where do you want to be? When I used to sail my boat, if you saw on the radar or in the news that a big storm was coming and I was in a boat, you're on the water, you have to go find a port, a place to put your boat where you're protected, right? And this is what I'm suggesting to everybody, to pay attention to this. I'm not an economist. I'm not an investment counselor. So I'm just trying to say, do your due diligence and find out where's the best place to put yourself to live. Where's the best place to put your money, your assets? How do you protect yourself at this point? Because there's people like credit card CEOs and stuff that are coming out now and saying, our goal isn't to make money, it's to protect our downside. Everybody's saying that this is happening. And so like I said, it's part of the perfect storm. And so how are you going to take care of yourself? If Thailand becomes a place that I don't think it's a better place, I've always said that I'll tell people that, hey, it's not a good idea. You should be in your home country or something. But right now, I see the costs going up so much, and even though the costs are going up here, it's a lot easier to handle the inflation here than it is back if I was in the United States. And so, do you want your money in cash? You want your money in an asset, because if a currency collapses and they reissue a new currency, you want to be able to sell an asset into that new currency instead of converting your cash, which might become worthless if this inflation turns to hyperinflation, which is getting really close to. I mean, when you talk about month on month, these percentages are compounding. And so I just wanted to mention this to people. It'd be really good to have a place that's paid for so you don't get the rent increase. You have some of your own food. If you can grow your own food or something, it'd be really good. And that could be hydroponic tomatoes on your porch. I don't care. Have a couple chickens so you got eggs and stuff. Whatever you can do. Learn how to fish. Go fishing. And maybe there's a local pond or a seashore where you can go fish or something. But you need to start protecting your assets and thinking about this. Nat and I, we have a condominium that we were going to sell. We probably still would if somebody's interested. And it's across the street from the beach in Cha'am. Across the street. You walk, what is it? 50 meters, and you're on the beach. Yeah, you don't have a real good sea view. If they cut the trees on the beach, the pines and everything, you get a little bit of view. But we're going to sell that for 1.5 million baht. That's like $40,000. If you're talking about rent on studio apartments over $1,000, that means that a rent on a house has got to be close to $2,000. So if you look at $40,000, and the common fees for the year, we pay about $500 for a whole year of common fees. So you look at how quick would you pay back that money of $40,000, and then it's paid for. Done deal. You don't have to worry about inflation or anything. You got a home forever. And so, I mean, that to me is what people should be doing. Now, if you say, okay, I don't want to live in Thailand, then get a trailer in Alabama or something and have it paid for and go hang out. You can live cheaply there too. I don't think the quality of life is as high as here, but you need to be doing something. Just thinking about this. It's not business as usual. We say business as usual, mean it's the same as it's always been. No, the world has changed. And I don't see it going back for a while. I think there is light at the end of the tunnel. I suggest reading a book called The Fourth Turning. We're in a period of time. And this is repetitive throughout history. And we'll come out of this, and we'll be better on the backside of all this stuff, of the perfect storm, once the storm passes. But that's years down the road. And in the meantime, you better be paying attention to all this stuff. But again, if you had housing paid for, you didn't have to pay for that. That would make a big difference, I think, in people's lives. And so if you're interested in the condominium, let us know, and just email me, retirecheap.gmail. And we'll give you information about that. But you got to do something here. You know, don't just sit and wait for, you know, the monster. It's still a baby now. Don't wait till it becomes a full monster and then go, what should I do? What does this mean? Because the writing is on the wall. And so I just wanted to mention that. And this goes along with our meal. We had a great meal. And hopefully we'll be able to grow more vegetables and stuff. Now we're harvesting some fruit. We had our first bananas this week off of our trees, which was, they were small. The tree fell over and our bananas didn't grow very big, but they were really sweet, good. Guavas are growing again. There's a lot of updates I'm going to give you all in the next video, which I was going to do, but then this became something when I read, I was just shocked. And so I thought, yeah, I should talk to you all about this first, that you really should be planning on what you're going to do. And I think now's the time to pay attention and really think about, and it's good because the window of opportunity to come over without vaccinations and quarantines and all this stuff has happened. And so there's a window of opportunity here. And so I really think that you should really think about if Thailand is a place for you to hang out, you know, weather the storm out, if this is a good option for you, or stay in your home country or whatever. But we'll see. It all will play out the way it's going to play out. But, you know, the more I read about this and the more it's getting cranked up. Now, we've heard about collapses and all this stuff for decades. But now, pattern recognition of all this, it's becoming louder and louder and louder and more pronounced. And so it's not a matter of if, it's just a matter of when, and that when seems to be coming at a really fast pace. It's becoming exponential because you can't. Anybody who thought you could just print, and I mentioned this in our weekly updates on our member site, over the last 6 or 8 months, or 2 years really, when they, we're going to put another billion baht, 2 million baht, 10 billion baht into COVID relief, and they don't have the money, they're either printing it or they're borrowing it. Neither of those are good options. And so I told them that there'll be repercussions to that, and now we're seeing them. And they can blame it on whatever they want, but you cannot print money endlessly without inflationary repercussions. So anyway, yeah, I hope you all are going to stay well, stay safe, and that's the way I end all my videos now. You know, there's always an option, right?
Yes.
And so figure out what your options are and act on them. But I suggest you get prepared for that storm to hit, because it's brewing, and we'll see what happens. But just wanted to pass that on to you. Like I say, we got another video. It's got lots of updates and stuff. A lot's been happening over the last couple of weeks, but I wanted to get this out to you all first. So take care, stay well, stay strong, and we'll be coming at you soon. See ya.
Bye.
Hey, JC here. If you like that video, make sure to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel here. Also, we have another video up here you're going to be really interested in watching as well. And if you're looking for all the details of how to retire in Thailand in one place, plus a group of people to support you, check this out over here. Give it a click.